The day had started like any other for Liam. He was riding his bike along the narrow street in his neighborhood, dodging potholes and gripping the rusty handlebars. His old backpack, stuffed with torn books and notebooks, bounced on his back. The cold morning air stung his face, but he was used to it. It was just another day of school, another day of work in the afternoon, and of course, another day watching his mother, Emily, struggle to pay off the piling bills. But something different happened that day. On his way, near an abandoned gas station, Liam spotted a car parked on the shoulder. It was an old car with faded paint, but it had a certain imposing aura. Beside it, an elderly man with white hair and a wrinkled suit was tinkering with the engine, looking at the part in his hand as if it were a riddle. Liam thought about just pedaling on. It wasn't his problem, right? But something inside him made him stop. He leaned his bike against the wall, took a deep breath and approached. "Need some help, sir?" he asked a bit awkwardly, while the man looked at him surprised. "I don't know if you can help, boy," the man said with a slight smile. "Looks like the engine won't start, and I can't get through to any tow service." Liam shrugged. He wasn't a car expert, but he'd helped his mum fix the coffee maker and even the sink plumbing before. Maybe he could take a look. "I can try. It won't hurt." The man hesitated, but stepped aside to let Liam closer. With quick hands, the boy examined the engine, trying to recall the little he knew about cars. He fiddled with a wire, adjusted a part, and asked the man to turn the key. The engine coughed, roared, and suddenly came back to life. "I did it!" Liam exclaimed proudly, wiping his hands on his pants. The man seemed just as surprised as he was grateful. "Boy, you saved my day," the man said, shaking Liam's hand firmly. "My name's Mr. Peterson. What's yours?" "Liam," he answered with a shy smile. "Liam, you have a good heart. Not everyone would stop to help a stranger." Liam shrugged again. To him, it was no big deal. It was just the right thing to do. "Well, Mr. Peterson, I hope the car makes it to your destination," Liam joked as he got back on his bike. The man waved, still smiling gratefully. Liam rode off, thinking the encounter was just a coincidence. Little did he know, it had just changed the course of his life. Liam arrived at school late, his mind still on the car scene. But the day went on as usual, with boring classes and the rush to get to the diner where he and his mum worked. He had no idea that the man he helped that morning would show up again, and this time, change everything. The diner where Liam and Emily worked was simple, with torn vinyl seats, stained tables, and the constant smell of burnt coffee. It was one of those places frozen in time, but with a loyal clientele. Liam arrived late, as always, but the afternoon wasn't very busy. He leaned his bike against the wall, grabbed his apron, and went straight to cleaning tables. Emily, at the counter, was going over bills with a worried expression. "You're late again, Liam," she said without even looking up. "Sorry, Mum. Something came up on the way." Emily huffed but didn't push it. They had bigger problems than complaining about tardiness. She slid him a plate with leftover fries. "Eat something." "You're skin and bones." "I'm not hungry," Liam lied, putting the plate back on the counter. He knew his mom was trying to take care of him, but every bite he skipped was more food for her at the end of the day. As he wiped the tables, the bell over the door chimed, signaling a customer. Liam glanced over his shoulder and immediately recognized him, Mr. Peterson. The suit was still wrinkled, but the smile was the same as when the engine roared back to life. "Good afternoon," the man said in a strong voice as he sat at the counter. Emily frowned, a little suspicious. It wasn't common to see well-dressed people in their diner. "Excuse me, ma'am," Mr. Peterson began, tipping his hat like he was in an old movie. "My name is Tom Peterson, and I'm here looking for the boy who helped me this morning." Liam, who was head down cleaning a table, froze. Emily looked at him, confused. "You know him, Liam?" Yeah. "I helped him with his car on my way to school," Liam replied, awkwardly approaching the counter. "He didn't just help, ma'am. He saved my day," Mr. Peterson exclaimed, smiling. "And I came to thank him properly." Emily still looked skeptical but said nothing. Liam grabbed the order pad and asked, "Want some coffee?" "Not just coffee. I want to offer you something, kid," Mr. Peterson said, leaning his elbows on the counter. "I own a car dealership in town. Luxury cars. And I need an assistant." Silence filled the diner. Emily dropped the bills she was looking at and stared at the man like he had said he owned the moon. "An assistant?" Emily finally asked, eyebrows raised. "Why would you offer that to a boy you just met?" "Because he deserves it," Mr. Peterson replied seriously. "I saw something in him that I don't see every day. Someone willing to help without expecting anything in return." Liam was speechless. He looked at his mom, hoping for some reaction, but her face was tight, skeptical. "You don't have to answer now. Just think about it." Mr. Peterson pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to Liam. "Call me, kid. It'll be worth it." He left money for the coffee on the counter, waved, and left. Liam stared at the card in his hands, his heart racing. Could this be a real chance? He looked at his mom, who still seemed to be processing everything. "This isn't normal, Liam," she said in a low voice. "People like that always have ulterior motives." Liam didn't know what to think. Was it an opportunity or just another empty promise? He wanted to believe it could change things, but life had already taught him and Emily that not everything that seems good is trustworthy. Liam spent the night lying on the living room couch, staring at the card Mr. Peterson had left. He turned the little piece of paper between his fingers, trying to imagine what it could mean. Was it just another trick? Or maybe a real chance? In the kitchen, Emily leafed through a pile of bills, her tired face illuminated by the yellowish light of the lamp. She hadn't said anything since they left the diner, but Liam knew she was dwelling on the offer just as much as he was. After all, good things didn't happen often for them. "Mom, do you think I should call?" Liam asked, breaking the silence. Emily sighed, putting the papers down on the table. She looked at her son with that mix of worry and protection only a mother can muster. "Liam, I don't want you to get your hopes up just to be let down. That man seems kind, but rich people don't do charity. There's always a price." "But what if it's different this time?" he insisted, feeling a spark of hope in his chest. "What if he really wants to help?" Emily crossed her arms, leaning back in her chair. "I just don't want him to take advantage of you, Liam. Big promises come with big disappointments, but..." She hesitated, looking at her son's face. "If you think this could be something good, I won't stop you. Just be careful." That was enough for Liam. The next morning, he picked up the phone, trembling hands dialing the number on the card. Mr. Peterson's voice sounded cheerful on the other end. "Liam, I'm glad you called. Can we meet today? I want to show you something." Liam agreed, still unsure of what to expect. He asked for time off at the diner, left Emily with the same worried look, and rode his old bike to the address Mr. Peterson had given. When he arrived, he was speechless. The dealership was huge, with shiny cars lined up in perfect rows. The glass facades reflected the sunlight, and everything seemed out of reach for someone like him. Still, he took a deep breath, walked in, and was greeted by Mr. Peterson with a warm smile. "Welcome, Liam," the man said, extending his hand. "I want to show you where you can start." Liam followed the man through pristine corridors to a back room filled with tools, buckets, and cleaning supplies. "This is the place. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. If you accept, you'll start by cleaning cars, organizing stock, and helping wherever needed. It's simple work, but essential. And who knows? It could lead to something bigger." Liam looked around, taking it all in. It didn't seem much different from what he was already doing at the diner, but there was something different here, a promise of learning, of growth. "I accept," he said, determined. Mr. Peterson smiled, giving him a light pat on the shoulder. "I knew you would. Tomorrow morning at 8, all right? And, Liam, trust yourself. There's something special about you." Liam left the dealership with a timid smile on his face. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he could have more. As he pedaled back home, the cold wind brushing against his face, hope grew. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something big. The next day, the alarm barely had time to ring. Liam was already up, anxious and nervous, rummaging through his few clothes to find something that didn't look too worn out. He ended up choosing a faded pair of jeans and a simple but clean t-shirt. He ran his fingers over the patched-up laces of his sneakers, sighing. There wasn't much to improve. Emily, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee in her hands, watched her son in silence. Her face was a mix of worry and pride. "You're really set on this, huh?" she finally asked. "I am, Mom. We can't keep going like this. I have to try." Emily nodded, but her expression was still cautious. "Just keep your eyes open. Pretty promises aren't always what they seem." Jesus, Liam gave his mum a quick hug, grabbed his bike, and rode off. The cold morning air was biting, but he didn't care. His mind was too preoccupied with what the day might bring. When he arrived at the dealership, he was met by Mr. Peterson, who seemed as excited as he had been the first time they met. "Good morning, Liam. Ready to start?" "Always ready, sir." "Here, you can just call me Tom, all right?" the man said, giving Liam a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Come with me." Tom led Liam to a room full of tools, buckets, and cleaning supplies. He pointed to a shiny black car in the corner. "Your first task, make that car spotless. Then you'll help me organize some things in the stockroom." Liam rolled up his sleeves and got to work. He washed, scrubbed, and dried the car carefully, trying to remember every detail Tom had explained. The work was tiring, but he felt a strange satisfaction watching the car become spotless. Midway through, a co-worker walked by and stopped to watch. It was Travis, the guy who loved making snarky remarks. "Hey, kid, are you the boss's new charity project?" he mocked with a crooked grin. Liam squeezed the wet cloth in his hands, but decided to ignore him. He wasn't going to let someone like Travis ruin the moment. "I'm just here to work, man," he replied, not looking up from the car. Travis laughed, but eventually walked away. Liam let out a deep breath, relieved he had kept his composure. He knew people like Travis would always be around, but he was determined not to let them get to him. At the end of the day, with sore arms and blistered hands, Liam had cleaned 2 cars and organized several boxes in the stockroom. He felt exhausted, but also satisfied. Tom appeared with a smile. "Excellent job, Liam. Keep this up and you'll go far." Liam smiled, trying to hide his fatigue. He knew this was just the beginning, but for the first time, he felt like he could actually build something. He grabbed his bike and rode home, his body heavy, but his mind full of hope. Emily was waiting in the kitchen, with the same stack of bills as always. "So, how was it?" she asked as he collapsed into a chair. "It was good, Mom. Better than I expected." She smiled even though she still seemed worried. "Just don't forget, it's going to be a long road. Don't get too excited." Liam knew his mum was right, but at that moment, all that mattered was that he had taken the first step. Liam's routine changed in a way he hadn't expected. Now, his days were split between school in the morning, work at the dealership in the afternoon, and helping out at the diner at night. It was exhausting, but Liam didn't complain. He felt like each day of effort brought him closer to something bigger. At the dealership, things started to intensify. Liam spent most of his time washing cars, but occasionally Tom would call him over to help with other tasks. One of these was reorganizing the parts stockroom, and Liam, always curious, started learning the name of each item. "This here is a timing belt, Liam," explained Luis, one of the senior mechanics, as he held up the part. "Seems simple, but if it fails, the whole engine could go." Luis was a sturdy man with a direct way of speaking, but he had the patience to teach. He noticed Liam's interest and, whenever possible, would explain something. "Don't try to learn everything at once, kid. One step at a time," Luis said one day as he showed Liam how to change a car's oil filter. Liam absorbed every detail. He knew he didn't have much free time to study outside of work, so he made the dealership his classroom. At home, Emily remained skeptical. Every night was the same conversation. "Are you sure this Tom guy isn't asking for anything in return?" she'd ask, her brow furrowed. "Mom, he doesn't want anything. He's just helping me," Liam would respond, trying to hide his irritation. "It's hard to believe people like that, Liam. I'm just asking you to be cautious, okay?" Liam understood his mom's fear. Life had already been too hard on them, and pretty promises almost always came with traps. But this time, he wanted to believe it was different. At the dealership, not everything was easy. Travis continued throwing jabs whenever he could. "Hey, window washer, have you gotten your promotion to broom chief yet?" he'd say, laughing loudly. Liam ignored him, focusing on his work and remembering Tom and Luis's words. But sometimes it was hard. One of those days, Tom noticed Liam's discouragement and called him for a chat in his office. "Sit down, kid," he said, pointing to a chair. "I know Travis has been bothering you." Liam was surprised. He hadn't told anyone. "How do you know?" "It's not hard to notice. But let me tell you something. Guys like him don't last long in places like this. They talk too much and do too little. You, on the other hand, have potential. You just need to keep your head straight." Liam nodded, Tom's words giving him some relief. "And one more thing," Tom continued, handing him an envelope. "Your first paycheck. You've earned it." Liam opened the envelope with trembling hands. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was more money than he'd ever seen at once. He thanked him, his voice shaky. "Thank you, sir. I mean, Tom. You earned it, Liam, and this is just the beginning." That night, when Liam got home, he handed the envelope to his mom. Emily looked at the money, and then at her son, her eyes welling up. "I just want you to know I'm proud of you," she said, her voice choked. "But I still want you to be careful." Liam nodded, but for the first time, he felt like he might actually be on the right track. The weight of his routine was heavy, but the hope for a better future was even heavier. The days passed in a frenzy. Liam barely had time to breathe between school, work at the dealership, and nights at the diner helping Emily. The exhaustion was relentless, but he held on to the idea that every day of effort brought him closer to something bigger. Every car washed, every part organized, every detail learned from Luis in the stockroom was part of something he couldn't fully see yet. Tom kept a close eye on him. Whenever he could, he'd stop by the area where Liam was working, asking questions and offering small tips. "Liam, there's something you need to understand," Tom said one day while watching him clean the interior of a shiny sedan. "It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is the direction you're headed." Liam nodded but didn't reply. Tom's phrases lingered in his mind for days. At the dealership, his relationship with Luis also grew. The mechanic, who at first seemed distant, began trusting Liam, teaching him more than just the basics. "You know, kid, you have a knack for this," Luis said one day while Liam helped him replace a spark plug. "You learn fast and aren't afraid to get your hands dirty. That's what this job needs." Liam smiled, but didn't know how to respond. For him, learning there was more than just a job. It was a way to imagine that the future could be different. One Saturday, Tom called Liam into his office. The space was simple but decorated with pictures of cars and certificates on the walls. Tom sat at his desk, flipping through papers. "Liam, take a seat. I need to talk to you about something important." Liam's heart raced. He pulled up a chair, unsure of what to expect. "I see how dedicated you are, kid. Not just here, but in life. I know things aren't easy for you and your mom, and yet you show up every day eager to learn. That doesn't go unnoticed." Liam was speechless. Tom continued, "That's why I want to offer you an opportunity. I talked to some friends of mine, and one of them works at Grantville Technical School. They have one of the best mechanics programs in the state. I want to help you get in." Liam blinked, trying to process what he'd just heard. "Me? A technical school?" he asked, as if it were hard to believe. "Yes, you." Tom opened an envelope and showed him the papers. "The application is already filled out. You just need to sign it, and I'll take care of the rest. Costs, transportation, everything." Liam stared at the paper in his hands. It was a real chance, something he never would have imagined, but along with the excitement came fear. What would this mean? Could he handle it? And more importantly, how would Emily react? When he got home that night, Liam found his mom sitting at the table as usual, with bills spread out. He placed the envelope in front of her without saying anything. Emily picked up the paper and started reading. When she finished, she looked at her son, incredulous. "He's offering this to you?" she asked, gripping the paper tightly. "Yes, Mom. He thinks I have a knack for it. He wants to help me study." Emily was silent for a moment, her face a mix of surprise and worry. "And what does he get out of this?" she asked in a lower voice. "Nothing, Mom. He just wants to help." "Pretty promises? I've seen those before," she murmured, looking at the paper again. "But if you think this is the right thing, I won't stop you." Liam's heart felt lighter. He knew his mom was still skeptical, but the fact that she didn't refuse was a big step. That night, as Liam stared at his bedroom ceiling, he held the paper tightly. He still didn't know what the future would hold, but for the first time, it felt like there was a path, and he was ready to follow it. The morning Liam started at the technical school felt different. The air seemed fresher, or maybe it was just the anxiety making everything feel more intense. He put on his best outfit, which was still worn jeans and a clean, hole-free t-shirt, and set off on his bike. The old bike creaked at every turn, but he was so focused on what lay ahead that he barely noticed. Arriving at Grantville Technical School, Liam felt his heart race. The place was huge, with modern buildings and workshops filled with cutting-edge cars. He had never seen anything like it in his life. Tom was waiting for him at the entrance with that warm smile he always wore. "Welcome to your future, Liam," he said, giving the boy a pat on the shoulder. "Ready to start?" "Sort of," Liam replied, laughing nervously. "It feels too big for me." "Nothing is too big when you have determination," Tom replied. "Remember, everyone starts somewhere." Tom accompanied Liam to the reception desk, where a staff member handed him a badge and a schedule. Then he took him to the first workshop, where the class was already gathered. The instructor, a tall, bald man named Mr. Callahan, seemed serious, but had a glimmer of enthusiasm in his eyes. "Students, today we have a newcomer among us. This is Liam," he said, pointing to the boy who tried not to look too out of place. "Hi," Liam muttered, feeling the curious gazes of his peers. "Here, everyone starts from scratch," Mr. Callahan continued, "so don't worry. We'll teach you everything you need to know." Liam nodded and followed the instructor's directions. The first day was a mix of nerves and learning. He got to know the basic tools, learned to identify parts, and even disassembled a simple engine under Mr. Callahan's supervision. "You learn quickly, kid," commented the instructor at the end of the class. "If you keep this up, you'll go far." On the way home, Liam felt physically tired but mentally full of possibilities. He arrived to find Emily waiting in the kitchen as usual. But this time, she wasn't sorting through bills. She was looking at the clock, waiting for news. "How was it?" she asked when Liam walked in. "It was amazing, Mom," he replied, throwing his backpack into the corner. "There's so much to learn, but I think I can do it." Emily smiled, but her eyes still held that shadow of worry. "I hope you're right, Liam. Just don't forget to keep your feet on the ground." "I won't forget, Mom. I promise." In the following days, Liam threw himself into his studies and work. He arrived early at school, stayed late at the dealership, and at night still helped Emily at the diner. It was exhausting, but he knew he was building something bigger. At the dealership, things also began to change. Tom started giving Liam more responsibilities, and Luis, always attentive, encouraged him to tackle bigger challenges. "Liam, come here," Luis called one day while working on an SUV with an electrical problem. "Today, you're going to diagnose this." "You've learned this in school, right?" Liam took a deep breath. He had seen something similar in class, but doing it alone was a different story. "I'll try," he said, picking up the diagnostic scanner. While Liam worked, Travis passed by, wearing his usual mocking grin. "Look at this, the newbie thinks he's an engineer now," he jeered, crossing his arms. Liam ignored him, focused on what he was doing. He connected the scanner and identified the problem, a blown fuse. With the right tools, he fixed the issue faster than he expected. "See, kid," said Luis, giving him a pat on the shoulder. "When you believe in yourself, things move forward." Even Tom came by the workshop to congratulate him. "See, Liam, that's what happens when you trust your potential." The recognition didn't stop there. That same week, Tom announced that the dealership would partner with the technical school, and Liam would be one of the highlights of the promotional program. He would be presented as an example of someone who started from nothing and was making his way. Emily was quiet when Liam shared the news at home. She seemed to be wrestling between pride and fear. "This is all moving too fast, Liam. I don't want you to get your hopes up and then get hurt. Mum, I know you're worried, but trust me, I'm taking things slow, doing it the right way." Emily nodded, though her eyes still showed concern. But deep down, Liam knew she was starting to believe. For the first time in years, she saw a real possibility of change. That night, as Liam prepared for bed, he looked out the window of their small apartment and felt something different. It wasn't just physical exhaustion or worry about the next day. It was pride. He was building something he never thought possible. The big event showcasing the partnership between the dealership and the technical school finally arrived. The dealership was decorated with balloons, banners, and cars gleaming under the showroom lights. Customers, students, and local business people crowded the space. It was the perfect opportunity to show what Liam and other promising young people were building. Tom was in charge, moving around with his usual calm smile, organizing the final details. He called Liam over before the event started. "Today is your day, kid. I want you to show people what's possible with dedication." "Don't worry, you'll do great." Liam smiled, but inside he was nervous. He knew he'd be watched by many important people. When the event began, Tom gave a speech about the importance of investing in young people and providing real opportunities. "I'd like to introduce a living example of all this. This is Liam, a boy who started here washing cars and is now one of the brightest promises I've ever seen." Liam was called onto the makeshift stage, and applause filled the room. He turned red, but thanked everyone with a shy smile. When he stepped down, Tom pulled him aside. "Now it's your turn to shine. Go to the workshop and assist any customers who need help. They'll want to see what you know." Liam nodded and went straight to the workshop, where Luis was already waiting for him. "Relax, kid. Just do what you do every day." Soon, the first customer arrived, bringing a sedan with a noise in the engine. Liam grabbed a clipboard, asked detailed questions, opened the hood, and began diagnosing. Other customers gathered, watching as he explained each step. "It seems like the timing belt. With your permission, I can replace it right now," Liam told the customer confidently. The customer, impressed, gave the go-ahead. Liam worked with precision and speed under the curious eyes of the crowd. When he finished, the engine purred smoothly. "Impeccable work," said the customer, shaking Liam's hand. Liam's confidence grew with each interaction. He spent the rest of the event assisting Luis, answering questions, and demonstrating skills that had once seemed impossible. At the end of the day, Tom gathered everyone to thank them. Today, we saw how things can change when someone has the opportunity and the drive to succeed. Liam is proof of that. Luis, standing beside Liam, patted him on the shoulder. "Proud of yourself, kid?" "Very," Liam replied, his smile lighting up his face. When he got home, Emily was in the kitchen as usual. Liam walked in and dropped his backpack on the floor. "So, how was it?" she asked, unable to hide her curiosity. "It was amazing, Mom. Really, I never thought I could do something like this." Emily paused what she was doing, looked at him and smiled. "I'm so proud of you, Liam. But remember, the work is just beginning." Liam knew she was right, but for the first time he felt like he was on the right track. The event wasn't just a special moment, it was the start of something much bigger. After the event, Liam's life changed faster than he expected. At the dealership, he was no longer just the kid who washed cars. Now, Tom gave him more complex tasks, trusting him to lead small projects in the workshop. Even customers began asking for him specifically, impressed by his dedication and knowledge. Luis, as always, was by Liam's side, offering advice and guidance. "See, kid, hard work is paying off." But remember, humility always. No matter how far you go, never forget where you came from. Liam took this to heart. He knew that every victory came from hard work, and there was still a long road ahead. At the technical school, recognition also started to come his way. Mr. Callahan called Liam after class one day to talk. "Liam, you've been standing out here. Have you thought about entering mechanic competitions? It'd be a great opportunity to show what you've learned." Wah, compete. Liam had never thought about that. He hesitated, but Callahan insisted. "You have the talent and the discipline. Don't waste it." In the following days, Liam started preparing. He spent more time in the school's workshop, practicing diagnostics and repairs on different types of vehicles. Even during quiet nights at the diner, he took the chance to review notes and manuals. Emily noticed the change and began to view her son's progress with more optimism. Although she still carried a hint of worry, she began to believe that Liam was building something solid. "You're different, Liam. More confident, more sure of yourself," she commented one night. "It's because now I know I can do something good, Mom. Something that really matters." Emily smiled, her eyes full of pride. It was the first time she'd seen her son speak with such certainty. But as always, life brought its challenges. Travis, who had toned down the teasing, started bothering Liam again after noticing how much recognition he was getting. "Look at that, the boss's golden boy. Bet you think you're better than everyone now," Travis sneered with that venomous grin. Liam took a deep breath and calmly replied, "I'm not better than anyone, Travis. I'm just doing my job." The response disarmed Travis, who walked away muttering. Luis, who overheard the conversation, chuckled. "You're learning how to deal with people like that, kid. That's just as important as knowing how to fix an engine." That week, Tom called Liam for another meeting in his office. "Liam, you're surpassing all my expectations. That's why I want to offer you something. I have a very important client who needs a specialized diagnosis. I want you to handle it." Liam's eyes widened. It was a huge responsibility. "Me?" he asked nervously. "You can do it, Liam. Don't be afraid to try." When the client arrived with a state-of-the-art SUV, Liam felt his heart race. He prepared himself, asked detailed questions, and began the diagnosis calmly. After an hour of meticulous work, he found the issue, a fault in the ABS brake system. He explained everything clearly to the client, who was impressed by his precision. "Excellent work, kid," said the client, shaking Liam's hand enthusiastically. "You have a bright future." When the client left, Tom approached with a smile. "Liam, that was incredible. You're becoming an example of what's possible with effort and dedication." That night, when Liam got home, he felt like he'd taken another step toward the future he had always wanted. And for the first time, He began to believe that his dreams were within reach. With the success of handling such an important client, Liam saw his responsibilities grow even further. Now, in addition to diagnosing more complex problems, he began taking on small projects within the workshop. Tom and Luis trusted him, and that only fueled his determination to keep learning and improving. At the technical school, Mr. Callahan brought up the mechanic competition again. This time, Liam decided to accept. "Are you ready to represent the school?" Callahan asked, handing him the registration form. "I'm not sure if ready is the right word, but I'll do my best," Liam replied, smiling nervously. The competition would be in 2 weeks, and Liam knew he'd have to dedicate himself more than ever. He divided his days between school, work at the dealership, and nights studying manuals and techniques. Emily, even worried about her son's exhausting schedule, supported his decision. "This is your chance to show how much you've grown, Liam. But don't forget to take care of yourself too, okay?" she said, preparing a snack for him to take along. The day of the competition arrived quickly. It was a big event with dozens of participants, all prepared to showcase their skills. Liam felt nervous seeing the other competitors, many of whom were more experienced, but Callahan pulled him aside before it all began. "Remember, Liam, you're here because you deserve it. Trust what you know and give it your all." With those words in mind, Liam stepped into the competition area. The challenge was to identify problems in an engine and fix them as quickly as possible. He took a deep breath, adjusted his tools, and got to work. Focused, Liam disassembled the engine, identified the faults, and carefully corrected each one. Time seemed to fly by faster than normal, but he stayed calm. When he finally finished, he looked around and realized he was among the first to complete the task. When the judges announced the results, Liam could hardly believe what he heard. He had placed third. It wasn't first, but for him, it was a huge victory. Callahan approached with a satisfied smile. "See, kid, this is just the beginning." When Liam returned home that night, carrying the trophy, he found Emily waiting for him with a wide smile. "Is that yours?" she asked, pointing to the trophy. "Yeah, Mom, I came in third place in the competition," he replied, his eyes shining. Emily hugged him tightly, saying nothing. It was the first time she'd seen her son so happy and confident. At the dealership, Liam's victory didn't go unnoticed. Tom made sure to congratulate him in front of the entire team. "Liam, you're not just an employee anymore. You're an example to everyone here. I want you to know how proud I am." Even Travis, who always seemed to find something to criticize, remained silent. Maybe because deep down, he knew Liam had overcome more than just a competition. He was overcoming life. That night, as Liam reflected on the day, he felt that something inside him had changed. He was no longer just the boy who washed cars. He was becoming someone with a future, someone who could dream big. And for the first time, he completely believed in himself. Liam's life seemed to have transformed for good. After the competition and his personal victories, he became a recognized name at the dealership, the technical school, and even in the community. Customers requested him, teachers used him as an example in class, and even Luis, who was always reserved, didn't hide his pride. "You're ready for big things, kid," Luis said one day as they worked together on a sports car's transmission. "And the best part is, you've never forgotten where you came from." Liam smiled but knew there was still much to learn. Despite all his achievements, he remained humble and focused, something Tom made sure to emphasize. "Liam, I want to talk to you about the future," Tom said, calling him into the office once more. Liam sat across from Tom, as he had many times before, but this time the atmosphere felt different. There was an air of expectation. "I've spoken to my contacts at Grantville Technical School, and they have a proposal. An advanced internship program in another city. It's a unique opportunity, but it would require you to move away for a while." Liam blinked, trying to process the information. Moving to another city. It was a huge step, but also a chance he could never have imagined. "What do you think?" Tom asked. I don't know. My mom needs me, and the diner, the rent. I don't know if I can leave all that behind." Tom smiled as if he had anticipated this answer. "Your mom already knows. I spoke to her before bringing this to you, and you know what she said? That she's never seen you this happy, and that she'll manage while you build your future." Liam felt a lump in his chest. Emily always put his needs before her own. He knew it would be hard to leave her, but this opportunity was something that could change their lives for good. "I'll accept, Tom, but on one condition. I want to come back and help her as soon as I get on my feet." Tom nodded, proud. "I know you will. And I know you'll make all of us here even prouder." That night, Liam told Emily. She smiled with tears in her eyes and hugged him tightly. "You deserve this, son. Go out there and show what you're capable of." The following days were filled with preparations. Liam said goodbye to his schoolmates, the loyal customers at the dealership, and of course Luis, who gave him one last piece of advice. "No matter where you go, never forget, hard work and humility brought you here. And that's what will take you even further." On the day of his departure, Tom drove Liam to the train station. With a suitcase in hand and his heart racing, Liam looked back at everything he had built so far. He knew he wasn't just leaving the city. He was taking with him the lessons, challenges, and people who had believed in him. As he boarded, Liam felt a mix of fear and hope. He didn't know exactly what the future held, but he knew he was ready. And for the first time, he believed completely that his efforts were building something bigger, not just for himself, but for Emily and everyone who had faith in him. If you also believe that effort and determination can change lives, subscribe to the channel True Impressive Stories and follow more incredible stories like Liam's. Here, we celebrate real journeys of overcoming and inspiration. Like and share this video, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any updates. See you next time.